references and trivia. This is everything that Jason and I found for you guys. Maybe there are a few things that we missed, but we found a crud load of stuff loaded in this film with references, trivia, and Easter eggs. So be warned, there are going to be some spoilers for not only this film, but other films of the MCU and other films that were possibly referenced or given some interesting due time in this film. So be fully warned of spoilers. So hang on to your butts. So the first one is, the actor who does the voice of Surtur in Thor Ragnarok is Clancy Brown. Now, Clancy Brown is no stranger to comic book films and TV. He voiced Odin in the amazing animated series that Jason and I will be reviewing for you guys at some point, hopefully soon, getting ready for Infinity War, and that show is called Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. He also voiced Lex Luthor in the Superman animated series as well as the Justice League animated series. He also played the General on the TV show The Flash, where he was in charge of Gorilla Grodd. He also appeared in Daredevil Season 2 as the military man who sold out Frank Castle and his family. He also played the father in the Garbage remake of Nightmare on Elm Street in 2010, directed by Samuel Bayer. He played the father of the actor who played the Flash in the TV show Smallville. So he is not a stranger at all to comic book movies and TV shows. Next, we got Valkyrie is called Scrapper 142. The Valkyrie first appeared as a guise of the Enchantress in the Avengers number 83 in December of 1970 and was created by Roy Thomas and John Buscema. Thomas used another iteration of the character when the Valkyrie persona was placed into a mortal woman named Samantha Parrington as an adversary for the Hulk in the Incredible Hulk issue number 142 in August of 1971. When Thor is in the chair being explained who the Grandmaster is, we hear the music for the song Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and the visual imagery and Thor's scream at the end is a lot of mirroring from that boat in the tunnel sequence in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which came out in 1971. Again, 1971, same year that Incredible Hulk number 142 issue. Next we got, Hey Big Guy, Sun's Getting Real Low. That is the line that Black Widow would say to Hulk several times in Avengers Age of Ultron to get Hulk to calm down, and was used in this by Thor in order to calm Hulk down. The retirement home in New York City where Thor and Loki go looking for their father, Odin, is named Shady Acres. This is the same name as the Psychiatric Institute in the 1994 comedy Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, which was a play on the film's director, Tom Shadyac, who also directed with Jim Carrey Liar Liar as well as Bruce Almighty. When Thor gains access to the Quinjet using voice recognition, he says, "Point Break," in reference to Joss Whedon's 2012's The Avengers, where Tony Stark says to Thor, "No hard feelings, Point Break, got a mean swing." It's also a reference to how similar looking Thor is to Bodhi in Point Break, played by the late Patrick Swayze. The Grandmaster's Tower features statues of his former champions as well as who the current champion, the Incredible Hulk. The other previous champions were the Greek god Ares, the supernatural entity Man-Thing, the android monster the Bi-Beast, Hulk being constructed, and also the Corbinite being that I wish would have been in this movie, Beta Ray Bill. In Odin's vault, Hela pushes the Infinity Gauntlet off the pedestal and says fake, which makes a lot of sense as Thanos grabbed the real one with his left hand at the end of Age of Ultron. This one, of course, was right-handed. I might be reading way too much into this, but I wonder if when she said fake, maybe it was a foreshadowing of how she's going to feel about her relationship with Thanos. Scourge the Executioner carries out his last stand from Thor issue number 362 back in December 1985, where he fended off Hela's army with 2 M16s at the cost of his life to save Thor and his friends, very similar mirroring to what happened in this film. A lot of the visuals, and again, I could be totally wrong on this, but a lot of the visuals when they're traveling through the Rainbow Bridge, or rather even when they're going through the Bifrost and they're traveling locations, it really visually reminded me a lot of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure from 1988, when they're in the phone booth and they're in the time portal whenever they're traveling through time. Just kind of felt a little similar visual imagery-wise, but might be totally wrong on that one. During the first Thor film, we see the eternal flame in Odin's vault, and it's once again present in this film, and it also plays into the plot during Thor Ragnarok. If you look at Bruce Banner's shirt that he is wearing, which is clearly Tony Stark's shirt, and even mention that it's Tony Stark's shirt in the film, you'll notice a woman on that shirt. It's the art for the band Duran Duran, and the art is by Patrick Nagel. Also, Duran Duran's top song was Hungry Like the Wolf, which is a foreshadowing to Hulk fighting Fenris Wolf. When Hulk throws Thor around like a rag doll, it is a callback and visual reference to exactly what Hulk did to Loki before saying, "Puny God," in 2012's The Avengers. Matt Damon, Sam Neill, and Chris Hemsworth's brother Luke all make cameos as actors in the play The Tragedy of Loki of Asgard, recreating a scene from Thor the Dark World. They play Loki, Odin, and Thor respectively. The confrontation with Thor and Hela, where Hela destroys Mjolnir, was originally to be set in New York as we saw in the first two trailers, but Taika Waititi felt the setting was not right and reshot the sequence in a field. The original footage shot in Brisbane, Australia, as we just mentioned, can be seen in the July 22nd official trailer, in the second shot of the trailer, as well as the second Comic-Con trailer that came out. Hela is primarily based on her comic version, the Norse goddess of death and apocalypse, but incorporates traits from Thor's enemy, Gorr the God Butcher, an enemy who wields a magic sword and can create constructs, and Thor's sister, Angela, a rival to Thor. Hela is Thor's sister in this film. This was from Hela's first appearance in the comics, where she was established as Odin's daughter. This was written out and replaced in the comics with Hela as Thor's niece and Loki's daughter, in keeping with Norse mythology. In this film, Hogun the Grim has the most screen time of the Warriors 3 before being killed, which is the opposite of his last appearance in Thor the Dark World, where he had the least amount of screen time. When Valkyrie sells Thor to the Grandmaster, she mentions the price, and Topaz says the line, and I quote, "Tell her she's dreaming." This is a direct reference to the 1997 film The Castle, a classic Australian film. The Castle also stars Eric Bana, who played Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, in Ang Lee's Hulk back in 2003. The shake weight that we see Scourge using to impress the woman at the entrance to the Bifrost is actually the director Taika Waititi's shake weight. In 2011, while he was filming the amazing comic book film known as The Green Lantern, he actually was staying in a New Orleans hotel, and one night he saw a bunch of different infomercials and ads on TV, and he bought everything he saw on TV one night, including that shake weight. And he brought the shake weight onto the set with him and let Carl Urban's Scourge use it. So this is a, in an indirect way, a DC Marvel kind of crossover, just because he bought it when he was working on Green Lantern. The music playing during the tragedy of Loki of Asgard is the exact same music by Brian Tyler from Thor the Dark World during Frigga's funeral. Stan Lee makes his usual cameo as the barber who cuts Thor's hair. It should only be appropriate that one of the men who created Thor is the one who cuts off his hair on screen. When Hela says to Loki and Thor, "Kneel," this is a callback to when Loki said the exact same thing to a group of people, and also to Captain America in 2012's The Avengers, when Bruce Banner jumps off the Grandmaster's ship and onto the Rainbow Bridge to stop Fenris the Wolf. This is a callback and reference to the 2008 film The Incredible Hulk, where Bruce Banner, in order to try and stop Abomination, throws himself out of the helicopter traveling above Harlem. Thor's friend from work line about the Hulk was suggested to Chris Hemsworth by a Make-A-Wish child who paid a visit on the set on the day that they were set to film that scene. The song heard in the first trailer and the first scene of the movie, and also towards the climax when Thor gets hit the Odin Force and really embraces it, is none other than Led Zeppelin's Immigration Song. It was specifically chosen because its lyrics make mention of Norse religion. The film contains 3 members of the Defenders superhero group: Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson, the Incredible Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo, and Doctor Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch. Doctor Strange and the Hulk were founding members of the Defenders. The other 2 founding members of the Defenders were the Silver Surfer and Namor the Submariner. This is the first film that Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum have appeared in together since 1993's Jurassic Park. To prepare for her role as Hela, Cate Blanchett studied capoeira, a Brazilian martial art which I probably just butchered its name. Thor is the only Marvel Studios franchise to have a different director for each film. Kenneth Branagh directed Thor in 2011, Alan Taylor directed Thor the Dark World in 2013, and Taika Waititi directed this film in 2017. Taika Waititi originally wanted to feature a cameo by corpseman Roman Day from Guardians of the Galaxy, who is of course played by Wreck-It Ralph himself, John C. Reilly. We do get a mention of Xandar during the film though. This film releases in 2017 along with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Spider-Man Homecoming. This marks the very first time that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has released 3 films in the same year. Thor wields a mace in his fight with the Incredible Hulk. In the Marvel Comics, this particular mace was used by Thor's ally, Hercules. Taika Waititi described this film as a 1970s and 80s science fiction fantasy, the most out there of all the Marvel movies. He cited Big Trouble in Little China as a major influence on the film, and I quote from Taika Waititi, "It's a fun adventure film that has big stakes and also has a breakneck speed and takes you on a crazy adventure." A panel in the Grandmaster's viewing room is decorated with Jack Kirby's artwork that comes from the Marvel comic Fantastic Four issue number 64 from July of 1967. 4 of the male cast have appeared in at least one Star Trek movie. Carl Urban, who plays Scourge, played Dr. Hank McCoy in Star Trek Into Darkness, and Star Trek Beyond. Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor, was Lieutenant George Kirk in Star Trek, and also in the next Star Trek film that will be coming out. Benedict Cumberbatch, who of course plays Doctor Strange, played Khan in Star Trek Into Darkness. Idris Elba, who is of course Heimdall, played Krall in Star Trek Beyond. 80% of the dialogue in this film was improvised in order to create a very loose and collaborative mood. Charlize Theron was actually considered for the role of Hela. Taika Waititi appears in this film as the Kronan being Korg. Waititi is the second Marvel film director to have a major role in his own film after Jon Favreau, who directed the first 2 Iron Man films and executive produced 2012's The Avengers, appeared as Happy Hogan in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and films. Hela, who is played by Cate Blanchett, is the first main villain in a MCU film to be female. In the trailers, before the location was changed from New York to Norway, when Thor throws his hammer at Hela, there is a bit of graffiti behind him that reads, and I quote, "Skuck's life," end quote. This is a phrase heard in Taika Waititi's previous film, Hunt for the Wilder People, which if you have not seen that, check that movie out, people. Tessa Thompson based her performance as Valkyrie on Sarah Connor from Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Topaz, played by Rachel House, is an ally of the Grandmaster in this film. In the comics, she was a sorceress. Tessa Thompson appeared with Chris Hemsworth's brother Luke and Sir Anthony Hopkins in the television show Westworld. Thor calls his team the Revengers. In this film, it is a counterpart to the Avengers. Revenge and avenge have the same meaning, to strike back. In the Marvel Comics, the Revengers were a team of supervillains and anti-heroes made to oppose the Avengers. Valkyrie wears 2 armors based on her Defender's outfit in the comics. On Sakaar, she has a leather outfit that comes from her 2013 Fearless Defenders comic. She dons a silver-gold full-body armor, her Defender's armor from the 70s. Mjolnir is destroyed in this film by Hela. In the comics, the hammer was damaged in a fight between Thor and his grandfather Bor, which we saw in a flashback in the beginning scene in Thor: The Dark World. Sir Anthony Hopkins had decided against returning as Odin, but upon reading the story in the script, he changed his mind. The film is mainly based on the Thor Ragnarok comics storyline, where Thor discovers that Asgard is doomed to Ragnarok and must fight to stop it from happening, and that the Surtur saga, Surtur appears, and Thor and Loki team up to stop him. It also incorporates elements of Marvel storylines, and I quote, "Contest of Champions," the Grandmaster and the Death, host of tournaments, and of course we got the Planet Hulk storyline where the Hulk becomes a gladiator on an alien world, revolting against the Red King, or in this case more, the Grandmaster, played by, of course, Jeff Goldblum. After being in prison, Thor tells the Grandmaster that Loki is his brother, and Loki's response is, "Adopted." In 2012's The Avengers, Bruce Banner calls Loki a crazy, or a cat, bags of cat crazy or something like that, and Thor says, have careful how you speak. Loki is of Asgard and he's my brother. To which Black Widow says he killed 80 people in 2 days. Thor responds, he's adopted. Well guys, that's all we could find on Thor Ragnarok. for the trivia, the Easter eggs, and references. If there's anything we missed, please let us know in the comments below. What did we miss and what we should have looked out for during this film. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. We are going to be releasing a spoiler talk as well as a post-credit scenes being explained, as well as the mid-credit scenes being explained. We're also going to explain a little bit of that reenactment from that funny reenactment of the tragedy of Loki of Asgard. So be on the lookout for those videos. And if you guys like these videos and you want to see more like them, hit the subscribe button. See you guys next time.